You wake up, you turn on the tap, you pour a glass of water. It is the most basic, mindless routine of your day. You flip the light switch, the power comes on, and at the end of the month, you pay your utility bill to what you think is your local city government or a regional cooperative. But you are entirely wrong. Right now, in 2020, the water flowing through your pipes and the electricity powering your home is being quietly bought up by Wall Street. Not by public markets, by private equity. Mega funds managing trillions of dollars have realized that the ultimate monopoly isn't technology and it isn't oil. The ultimate monopoly is your basic human survival. Because no matter how bad the economy gets, no matter how high inflation spikes, you will never stop paying for water and power. And private equity knows it. Today on Fiscal Forensicist, we are tracing the aggressive capital migration into America's essential infrastructure. We are going to expose exactly how these shadow banks strip mine your local utilities for cash, load them up with hidden debt, and leave you paying the ultimate price. To understand how your local water plant gets hijacked, you have to understand the apex predator of the financial world, the leveraged buyout, or LBO. When a standard company wants to buy another company, they use their own money. But private equity firms do not like using their own money. They prefer to use debt, and they prefer to make you pay for it. Imagine you want to buy $1 million house, but instead of saving up for a down payment, you force the house itself to take out the mortgage. You get the deed, you own the property, but the house is solely responsible for paying back the massive bank loan you just created. If the house goes bankrupt, you walk away clean. If it survives, you keep all the profits. That is the fundamental math of a leveraged buyout. Now, apply that exact same predatory math to your city's municipal water system or your local power grid. A private equity firm swoops into a mid-sized American town. They offer the local government a massive lump sum of cash to privatize the utility. Local politicians, desperate to fix their budget deficits and secure their next election, agree to the sale. They celebrate. They promise lower taxes and better infrastructure. But the very next day, the private equity firm executes the LBO. They borrow hundreds of millions of dollars from massive investment banks, and they transfer every single penny of that debt directly onto the balance sheet of your newly privatized water company. Suddenly, your local water utility, which used to just pay for pipes, filtration, and local workers, now has to service millions of dollars in Wall Street debt interest every single month. But water is a physical asset. It does not magically generate 20% more revenue overnight just because Wall Street bought it. So how does the private equity firm make their massive profit? They use a legal but highly destructive financial loophole called dividend recapitalization. The private equity firm forces the water company to take out even more loans. But this new money isn't used to build better reservoirs or upgrade the power grid. It is immediately paid out to the private equity partners as a special dividend. They are literally stripping the cash out of the infrastructure that keeps your family alive, transferring the wealth to offshore accounts, and leaving the local utility company drowning in toxic debt. When a local utility company is choking on Wall Street debt, it only has two options to survive. Option 1 is to aggressively hike your monthly rates. Option 2 is to slash their operational budget and ignore vital repairs. In most cases across America today, they do both. This introduces the most dangerous concept in private equity infrastructure takeovers: deferred maintenance. To a Wall Street portfolio manager, replacing a 60-year-old municipal water main or upgrading a failing power grid is seen as dead capital. It is an expense that lowers their quarterly yield. So they simply do not do it. They patch the leaks instead of replacing the pipes. They lay off veteran engineers who actually understand the local grid and replace them with automated software and skeleton crews. They extract the cash that should have been spent on your city's resilience and pay it out to their shareholders. But infrastructure is physical, and eventually, the physics catch up with the financial engineering. The human cost of deferred maintenance is devastating. We are seeing it right now across the country. A sudden winter freeze hits, and because the privatized grid was never winterized to save on costs, millions lose power. A localized drought occurs, and because the private equity firm refused to invest in modern filtration, the water pressure drops and contamination levels spike. You are paying a premium, often 20 to 30% more on your monthly bill than you did 5 years ago, for a life-sustaining resource that is fundamentally degrading in quality. You are funding your own infrastructure's collapse while the actual owners sit safely in Manhattan high-rises. You might be asking yourself how this is entirely legal. Why isn't the government stepping in to stop private equity from treating basic human survival like a high-yield hedge fund? The answer lies in the 2026 regulatory landscape and the absolute genius of corporate shell games. Historically, water and power are considered natural monopolies. Because it makes no sense to have 5 different companies laying water pipes in the same neighborhood, the government grants one company a monopoly but heavily regulates how much they can charge you through a public utilities commission. But private equity firms have weaponized this regulatory system. They do not just buy the utility, they bury it under layers of complex LLCs, holding companies, and offshore subsidiaries. This creates a labyrinth of financial data that local, underfunded state regulators simply cannot untangle. When the privatized utility goes to the state commission to demand a massive rate hike on the citizens, they open their books and point to the crushing debt they are struggling to pay off. They conveniently leave out that it was their private equity parent company that saddled them with that debt in the first place through a leveraged buyout. They literally hold the city hostage. The utility essentially tells the regulators, approve this rate hike, or we default and the city's water stops flowing and the lights go out. Afraid of a total blackout or a public health crisis, the regulators cave. They approve the hike, the monopoly is protected, the private equity firm gets their guaranteed payout, and the middle class absorbs the financial blow. The takeover of American infrastructure is not a loud, hostile event. It is a quiet, bureaucratic extraction of wealth from the middle class, piped directly out of your home, 1 drop and 1 kilowatt at a time. The next time you turn on your tap and wonder why your bill is so incredibly high, remember that you are no longer just paying for water. You are paying off Wall Street's toxic debt. The economic matrix is deliberately designed to be invisible, but once you know how to read the ledger, you can see exactly who is pulling the levers. Subscribe to Fiscal Forensicist and join us as we continue to track the hidden capital dominating our global economy.